On January 15, 1919, a bizarre, deadly wave of molasses ripped through Boston's North End, leaving a trail of death and destruction. It's one of America's strangest disasters. But what if I told you Boston's tragedy wasn't the first? 8 years earlier, a nearly identical disaster struck, but almost nobody knows about it. This is the story of the New Orleans molasses flood and the warning Boston ignored. It's 1911 and New Orleans is booming. Warehouses lined the Mississippi riverfront, sugar refineries and cotton presses ran day and night, and the smell of molasses and industrial smoke filled the air. Molasses was big business in the town, a key ingredient for making alcohol. But storing millions of gallons of this thick, dense syrup was tricky. So when the city's old waterworks reservoir went up for sale, the sugar planters' storage company quickly snapped it up. Naively, they assumed that since it held water, then it should hold molasses too. The reservoir was huge, 20-foot-high walls of brick, steel, and concrete covering a whole city block. This map from 1883 shows it occupying the block bounded by Market, Richard, St. Thomas, and Religious streets, which still remain today. Businesses all around the area were going about their normal day, unaware of the disaster that was about to happen. On September 11th, 1911, the unimaginable happened. A section of the wall gave way and 5 million gallons of molasses burst into the streets. The 15-foot wave gushing out was so powerful, it wiped out everything in its path. Streetcars were flipped over, giant iron boilers were thrown hundreds of feet, and the entire lower story of homes were filled with syrup. People in the streets had to wade through waist-deep and sometimes chin-deep molasses. A few tried to swim, but quickly got stuck and had to be rescued by firefighters. One newspaper described it as like antics of a fly on gummy fly paper. As the liquid made its way down Market Street and slowly dispersed throughout the city, reports stated it was still a foot deep a mile away. Thrifty housewives grabbed any pot, bucket, or jar they could find and scooped up as much as they could. But the free molasses wouldn't last long. One of the city's water mains broke under the weight, ultimately helping the cleanup crew rinse it into the sewers. While property was destroyed and the cleanup was immense, the most memorable consequence was a biblical plague of flies and ants that descended upon the sticky feast. But unlike the Boston disaster that would follow, the New Orleans flood had a surprising outcome. Not a single person was killed. Outside of New Orleans, the national papers called it a nuisance and a joke to the rest of the country. More amusement than alarm. If anyone had died, there might have been new rules. Instead, the company wrote off the loss and quietly moved on. 8 years later, in the middle of Boston's North End, a massive steel tank rose up over the neighborhood, 7 stories tall and packed with millions of gallons of molasses. People nearby said they could hear it groan and creak on warm days, and workers even painted the whole thing brown to hide the dripping syrup. That tank was a ticking time bomb. And when it finally gave way, Boston would discover what New Orleans never did. Molasses can kill. The link to Boston's full disaster story is on screen and in the description. Before you go, if you found this forgotten story interesting, please consider subscribing and liking this video. Thanks for watching.